Hello, welcome back to BlenderSushi Live Noding. In this episode, we're gonna take a look at the idea where we can kind of make a live connection between Sverchok and particle back and forth to generate like some kind of text effects. I'm gonna show you the basics. It's actually kind of similar to the previous live noding, still kind of milking the same idea and try to make sure it's well understood, and then we will see how it goes from there. So this is a Sverchok particle basic 001. We know that in Blender, if you have like let's say you have like a torus mesh, and then you have like a monkey, and then you have cone, and you have this this object in the middle. Let's call it dummy object. We can simply change the data of this guy, the dummy, change it to one of these, the cone, the Suzanne or the torus, and this guy will change. This is gonna be like our master. The same thing you can do inside Sverchok. So if you go to compositing, you know that it's pretty easy. You just need to know how. And because in Sverchok, the data type is separated into their vertices, edges, polygon, and matrices, which is the transform. This is sometimes still pretty confusing for people. Let's see. Let me grab all these three and get the selections. And now we can kind of list item, the object, and output it. Let's use the viewer bmesh. So we need at least vertices and edges, or just the vertices. So I'll plug in the vertices and the polygon data into this list item, and I plug this into that guy, and then it should be at level 1. Use an integer number. Now we can I believe we can create our object. So based on these objects being sourced, now we have these objects in the center here, which is with this guy doesn't look quite right, but this guy is looking kind of right. So maybe we should turn off sort object and try again. 1, 2, 3, and get the selections. And this is the vertices data plugged in there, and this is the polygon data. Apparently I made a wrong connections. I didn't do this in purpose, but this is the item that we want, and the other is the other data type in the same list. So okay, it should be on level 1, and then we can select okay the monkey or the torus or the cone, which is on index 0, 0, 1, 2. Okay, 3 data being passed into. Now we can take advantage of this, that we have so for this guy, if we apply particles, just a simple particles, everything being born on the frame 1, and then we're gonna turn off the physics. We don't want to deal with a time dependency. Just particles, 1000 particles being emitted on the face. Now we can see we can also just change the data here, monkey, torus, and this effect is still live. So this is the first concept that you need to understand. There is also one thing here. We can use text object, and text object is a special in itself because text object is alive, and it has a lot of setting here that you can play around with, and you can also use the modifier like remesh to get a like a nice nice mesh like that. and you can use this inside Sverchok as well. So 1, 2, 3 normal polygon object, and then this guy text get selections, and we can get to the text. Maybe we want to turn on post modifier as well. Okay, now we have our text being sourced. So text, cone, monkey, all being sourced. Now I want to work with the text. I like the live effects because we can just change it to anything, and it should update when I hit the frame number there. File, save as. If I'm not wrong, there is an option in here that also auto update. Properties, get sort objects. It's probably in the side Sverchok, under Sverchok Add-On here. Enable live object in. Objects in edit mode will be updated in object in mode. If I turn this on, maybe now it will auto update, but it might be slower. I don't know. Now it doesn't seem to update this guy. Well, doesn't matter. Let's have a look at this. Now that we have this setup, we can. I will just frame this. This is our first setup, and secondly, we're gonna still using the same node 3. So this is like sourcing text. We can grab the same object output. Actually, would be nice to have to actually use this guy, viewer BMS and object, and then you just source that guy using particle. Hopefully this will read it, and apparently it does. So now we can read the particle system, even though it's only reading the vertices that's showing. That's okay. That's a good start. We can just use this and then maybe use something like UV connection, and we're gonna output let's say polyline. I like the polyline viewer. It's gonna output a curve, and you will see the result right away. That's our crazy looking lines. Actually, this is more like polygon. Let's switch to edges, and before I do that, let me cut that and then check it out with viewer draw. Maybe I did something wrong. Plug the vertices there, and then okay, we have points coming in. We can actually do a neat thing here. So data and slice. We want it to be edges. I think here what's happening is the particle is pretty random when it's being emitted. Would be nice if we can just sort this beforehand. Sort list sorting data and keys. The keys should be the positions. Yeah, list sorting is not the easiest to understand. Basically, you can sort based on the distance to something. I'm not gonna do that. It's a little bit too complex for now. Let's have a look at the particle here. Don't make it random, maybe. Okay, that's slightly better. Let's switch to vertices. Even less random still. I guess that's slightly better, but I think if we switch particles to maybe the volume and use grid, it's gonna be even less random, I believe. There you go. But and we can actually output this guy. Plug this guy in. See, I'm gonna hide these intermediate objects. See, this is what we get. We get like a kind of like a noodle pattern. Make it 0.01. Yeah, it's a noodle pattern based on the text objects. Where is our text object? Some I have to let me organize something first. Files, save as this guy we can delete. We have the smaller guy. We have this is the original text. Our text is pretty boring. It's a Blender default. Let's switch to something else. Here and then fonts. Titan one. Pacifico. Pacifico is nice looking. Okay, and let's let it update. Snail. So we have this. This guy is still looking at the old object because it's looking at alpha. Intermediate middle. Okay, that's slightly better. Now I think we have too many objects here. This is alpha, this is the guy with particles. We can switch to hexagonal face. Let's switch back to faces. Or actually I don't mind the volume and then random. Even distribution or random, doesn't matter. I think one of these should give a nicer result. Polyline viewer, let's don't use that for now. UV connection. It's giving this a fairly random points. Let me see. I think I'm forgetting something. I'm trying to make these points becoming more useful. Kind of. Okay, maybe I can use KD3. KD3 closest edges. And then the edges should be looking much better now, instead of all the edges connecting from the beginning to the end. So this is just like the spider web thing. We have probably too many line connections, and I have to reduce the minimum maximum distance. So there's a lot of option right here. Maybe reduce the maximum number to 3 to 1, and it should still work. Okay, maybe 2. Okay, so now this guy is still looking like a letter, so that's all right. So from this guy, snail, we get this result. That's I can easily bake, which is becoming this guy, and the effect is still live. Well, maybe I should use a different text. Titan one is good. It's a good fat text. Let's use a lowercase. And let's update everything. So text objects being updated, Sverchok will read it, and it's gonna output new objects. Funny thing is, this guy doesn't update. There you go. There's a maybe there's an option here that's keep updating. Never mind. Continue on. This okay. We have this. We have that. We have closest edges. There must be a better way to kind of sort the points from left to right, so we have a kind of more usable result. Anyhow, now we have this noodle. We can perhaps use the polyline viewer now. Plug this to that guy. Yeah, it's gonna give us a different kind of result. That's okay. We're gonna use B-spline and reduce the resolutions and make this small. Looks like a crazy looking cables. It's not so useful at the moment. That's okay. The idea here, of course, I want to bake. We have something like this, and then this guy will be more usable if we. Okay, I'm gonna make this into a curve. Convert to curve, and then I'll go to edit mode and then set spline into Bezier or actually NURBS, and back to the original. We have noodle line that looks like this. It's actually better, and now we can extrude it so it's looking, yeah, that's the result that I want. The polyline should generally able to do that. Gonna copy this to that guy, and now we have this cable. I'm gonna switch to cycles. I'm gonna make it this a little bit nicer. It's a bit glossy. Give it some color, dark color. This is the intermediate object. The alpha is intermediate, so I'm gonna switch to outliner. Just gonna make this wireframe. So we have this cable, and we have a bunch of points. The next thing we can do is to turn all these points into objects. I'm gonna use bmesh viewer. Wow, okay, it just crashes. Gonna reopen real quick. Don't worry, I have already saved. I actually saved before I make any notes and before I make any changes. It's become a habit. Don't worry, just take a few seconds to reload. Now this guy, Sverchok particle basic. Now at this point, it's totally up to you how you want to approach this, but basically we can output bmesh here. You can use Sverchok to do instancing, but I will use particles because particle does instancing better than Sverchok at the moment. So vertices out, and it should be a merge. It's gonna be a single object, so it's called delta. We have to keep track of this name because we have a lot of intermediate objects here. We have this delta, which is just a bunch of points. How many points we can see? This is 76,000? No way. It's only 1,000. It's based on the original particle. Back to the particles. You can emit more here or emit less. And we can use this as our lamp, because I'm going to make like a kind of like a Christmas decorations here. Something like that to represent our lamp. This guy, we have one of these, and then we're gonna turn this into lamp. Something is slowing down, not sure why. Make new material. Another material and give it a texture. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and then we're gonna group it and back to our delta objects. Should be emitting particles, and now we can turn off physics, turn on group instancing, and then we should be seeing our particles. I have a feeling that these guys keep updating it. It's not good. Oh no, I forgot to switch it to vertices. Okay, delta objects and make it particles smaller. Now hopefully if everything works, we're gonna see some kind of magic here. Switch to render. Okay, we're almost done. This is our light. Emission, make it a little bit higher. And delta, back to delta, make this a bit smaller as well, and randomize the lamp slightly. Now we have the cable and we have the light. We just need to turn it on. There you go. It's still red. If you have more resolution, it's gonna look better. I will use also. I'll make a floor real quick. This floor as Y, a bit smaller. Just a small floor like that. This is our text objects that hopefully, if everything is still alive, if the effect's still alive, you can change the text to anything. Diffuse is okay. We can also use gloss or glass. Now you can see it's the lights kind of illuminating the floor. Now I guess that's almost pretty much it. If I change this to hello or Mary, whatever, Mary, update it. Something is not updating. Is this guy not updating, which is funny. Just type alpha there. Now it should become Mary, except for our curve object, which is not updating properly. But we have the Mary. There is other than polyline, we have a pipe object, I think, that we can use to kind of create the effects. Really, the point here is also, you know that text objects, you cannot make text objects of particles, but in this case you kind of can, because you have this original text objects and then Sverchok does everything in the background, turning the text objects into a mesh, intermediate mesh objects where you can apply particles. That's why this effect is working nicely with the delta right there. So if I give it like okay, give it like 1000 particles and then give it like children simple, maybe have like 5 times more, so you have 5000, and then I don't know, maybe interpolate. If I'm not wrong, by doing that I'm increasing the particle 5 times. Maybe I need to update this guy once again. Nope. I'm gonna do a quick render and have a look. Maybe the children only works with the actual particle itself. You can see the glow. I actually like the glow in the Blender internal. The glow in cycles, maybe you can use point density for that, but the glow in Blender particles, in the Blender render is pretty good. So we have this guy, it says Mary. I'm using the LUT thing, so I need to do the color management in order to make it more realistic, like brighter or less bright. Play with the gamma. I found it kind of crunching the colors quite nicely, although sometimes it's kind of burning the color. Maybe I use like a too strong of lighting. That's the kind of more realistic. Let me cut that. View, align active camera to view. Now we have this being selected, and let's have a little bit of environment lighting, just a little bit, and then render it again. Play with exposure once again. You see the effects there. It's really nice. It's much brighter. Maybe because I use like a high number in the intensity of the light. I'm actually overexpose this. High contrast, medium contrast, base contrast. No, oh yeah, that's actually a lot nicer, even though it's got burned. Increase the gamma and reduce the exposure. Much better. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much what I want to show you in this live noding. It's the idea is what I did back and forth between Sverchok and Blender particles. It's kind of trying to make like a live connections. Okay, this is kind of common in sometimes you see in other software package like Maya and Houdini, especially Houdini. Live like a live nodes connections from beginning to the end is a big thing. You can just change, like make changes to the source and then tweak the parameters, and you get the final result quite easily. And this is why the big package, big procedural package like Houdini is really powerful, because you can make modifications really quickly, and you can actually expand the setup. We did something here in Blender that's kind of like that, even though it's kind of small in terms of size, but it's still, I thought it's quite something something that's nice to think about and for you to try. Well, yeah, so if the connection is working correctly from text objects to the final like particle lights like this guy, it should be all in one streamline. You can just make changes to the text and then you get the new result. Yeah, so that's one way we can kind of get from this tutorial. So if you have any question, feedback, suggestion, comments, leave it please down below, and then I guess I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much. I'll see you